have been completed 21 days in Super Summer Memory Camp and going to explain about Physics Chapter 2, Force and Laws of Motion. Force is usually used in our daily life, which is known as pull or push of an object is known as force. And there are types of force. There are gravitation force, frictional force, and non-friction force. Non-friction force and friction force, there are many differences. And gravitation force has been learned in the last chapter, and we will learn in the last chapter. And we are going to about force and laws of motion. There are three laws of motion. When an object is in static motion, it is known as first law of motion, and it is also known as inertia and mass. Inertia and mass. Here the resistance is upward, and the massive objects will be contained here, and they will be in a state of rest. So there is known as first law of motion. Second law of motion, where the object is moving in a form where the static portion has been not acting on the object, is known as second law of motion. Second law of motion will be represented as the way of moving motion where the object will be moving on a particular place without any objection or stuck on that object. Next law of motion is third law of motion. Third law of motion is mainly about the object where will be on not attached to the surface, and the object will be not attached in this third law of motion, and this motion will be known as rolling motion, rolling friction or rolling motion. Here this motion will be the last and final motion of the law, which will known as third law of motion. The momentum, conservation of momentum. The conservation of momentum will be calculated here by the formulas and several Greek philosophers as known as a movement of an motion is known as momentum. And the first law of motion, there are many planes: inclined plane, smooth plane, smooth marble, unbalanced plane, and etc. And the second law of motion, there will be a momentum and velocity and direction and speed in that. So the motion can be calculated in the rate of motion. And the next last and final is third law of motion. Third law of motion, there are no velocity and speed because there is no attachment between surface and ground. Thank you.
Hariom, myself Tanushriyar. I am from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Kolar. I am 7th standard. Now completed my super memory summer camp for 21 days. My experience in this summer camp is now I improved my reading level. Now I can read 100 to 110 pages in 1 hour, and I can revise whole textbook in 1 hour, and I increased my writing, improved my memory. Explain after transportation in animals and plants. This is the biology chapter, and introduction in this chapter is, in this chapter we can learn about the blood vessels, excretory system in animals, and excretory system in humans, and transportation of plants and animals. Heart is an organ. It is a pump which can beat continuously. Without heart anybody cannot survive, like humans or other organisms, living organisms. Heart is a pump which can beat continuously. For adult persons, heart can beat per minute 70 to 80 beats. And blood is also called as plasma, which is in red color, called red pigment. There are two types of red cells. There are white blood cells and red blood cells. They are also called as WBC and RBC. Transportation in plants and animals. Animals and plants transport their food or other materials for their survival. Plants transport, they have root hairs. The root hairs helps the plants for absorbing water and nutrients from the soil. The stem helps for transportation of water and minerals for all parts of the plant, and leaves helps for preparing food. The bird becomes as a flower or fruit. The bird becomes flower. The bird becomes a flower. Thank you.